So for those of you who haven't seen on the channel by now, I recently made a video actually talking about the West Coast Eagles 2025 AFL draft plans and how I think they're going to go and kind of unfold in the next couple months. Again, I highly recommend going and checking that video out, but to kind of summarize a little bit of it because it really is important for this video as well, I do actually talk about the fact that from all the reports, rumors and news in the AFL right now, it is being said that obviously Oscar Allen could potentially be leaving the club and going to Brisbane and to a lesser extent maybe even going to Hawthorn. Again, either way, from the reports, West Coast aren't offering him as many years as those clubs are. They're not offering him apparently anywhere near as much money as what those clubs are. And it is being said that if free agency was to start today, Oscar Allen would 100% be leaving, and it would, obviously unfold pretty easy. Again, why I'm bringing this up and why it's actually really important is because a lot of people have theorized why the West Coast Eagles are letting their captain go and not giving him the money he, is commanding from other teams and all of the above. But there is one simple thing to look at here, and that's the fact that not only is Oscar Allen not exactly playing that good to the point where he's now being moved as a freaking key defender, getting thrown around more than me on a local Saturday footy game, going from forward pocket to bench the whole time. Oscar Allen also, by the contract he's reportedly going to be getting, would actually give the West Coast Eagles a band 1 compensation pick in return when he does leave. Again, meaning that the Eagles would get that pick next to wherever they are on the ladder, and obviously they're at dead last. Again, they're probably worse than me as a local footy player. That's how unfortunate the Eagles season is going right now. Again, I'm obviously just joking. I don't think anything could be as bad as my football play. I'm literally there to warm the bench and sing piss after the game. But at the end of the day, the Eagles would get a band 1 compensation pick, which would be pick number 2. So this is obviously very, very important. And one of the things I talked about in the other video is who I think they would, of course, go and draft. Again, go check out that video. I go very much into depth on who I think they'll draft and why I think right now will probably be the best available and most likely the midfielders available. But there is, of course, one more player that I actually didn't really mention or touch on in that video, and I didn't have them selecting in my mock draft at the first overall pick or pick 2, that a lot of people have mentioned, saying that they think the Eagles could genuinely take this guy with this pick, and it would, of course, make a lot of sense for them and something that they could, possibly do. Again, this does happen to be Cooper Duff Tytler, who is obviously the number 1 ranked ruckman in the draft class. He's the number 1 ranked ruckman, I think, since Luke Jackson in, 2019, 2020. And he is arguably the first overall pick, with countless experts out there actually having him going number 1 to the West Coast Eagles. Again, there's a bit of a debate online on where they're going to go. Are they going to go for a midfielder or are they going to go for a ruckman? I personally, as mentioned, think that they will probably take the best midfielders available, because there is another ruckman that I think they could maybe get later on in Louis Emmett, who would also make sense for the team if they were to get another top 10 pick again. We still don't know what's going on Harley Reid, but that's another factor for a different video. Cooper Duff Tytler, though, is a massive option for this first or second overall pick that the West Coast Eagles are going to have, because as we know, as I said, he's the number 1 ranked ruckman. He's the number 1 ranked ruckman, number 1 ranked player by some boards, and he's also an absolute beast. Again, this guy will get you his 20 to 30 hitouts like all under 18 ruckman will do. There's nothing special about his really tap game and his hitouts. It's pretty much what you expect from an elite under 18s ruckman. It's not super crazy, but where he legitimately stands out so much is the fact that this guy is not only an extra midfielder, but he's an extra key forward. I mean, this guy will go out and legitimately get 20 disposals in the midfield for fun. And the reality is he can actually go up forward and turn into a key forward when you need him to. You can even rest him down there and he'll go and kick you a couple, which he's been doing in all of the under 18, games. So people have been saying, why not the Eagles go for Duff Tyler at 1 and the next best available at 2, which will probably be Willem Dersma, something like that, right? And yes, that makes sense. Again, I don't think it's where they're going to go, but there's a lot of reasons they should do it. First of all, they really need a Ruckman. I mean, they desperately need a Ruckman. It's actually really, really bad how much they are legitimately getting killed right now. They have by far the worst ruck depth in the league. Not only do they have the worst starting ruckman in the league, which at this point is Matt Flynn. Again, by the time this video comes out, he probably will have been dropped. Again, I'm filming this after he just got pretty much touched without consent by Max Gawn. So I don't know if he'll be dropped. And then their backup ruckman is actually okay, but if he was to be the starting ruckman, he'd obviously be the worst starting ruckman as well in Bailey Williams. So they desperately need a ruck, and everyone's been saying, if they desperately need a ruck, why would you not go out and get the best ruckman? It is obviously so logical, and it makes so much sense, right? Well, no, that's not necessarily how I believe right now this Eagles team should probably go, and I don't think it's where they will go. I think the reason why that is because, as we know, ruckman in the AFL, they don't just come in and dominate. Like, Cooper Duff Tyler is not going to come in and average 20 disposals, 2 goals a game, and 30 hit-outs. Again, if he does do that, I'll freaking do a backflip off my chair. And I don't know. Shit, I was going to say something like run naked on the street outside my house, but I won't say that because he might actually go and do this now. He is that special. But as I'm going on here is that ruckman, they don't just come in and dominate. Again, it usually takes them at least 2 years before they can come in and actually play some okay footy. And it takes them probably 3, 4, 5 years before they actually can be a very good start, like can actually be a starting ruckman who you can look at and be like, he's not going to get absolutely destroyed today. Again, you look at a guy like Tim English, who it took him so long. It took him till like 23 years old. I think Lloyd Meek was like 24, 25. Toby Nankervis was not getting a game until he went to the Tigers as a 23-year-old. There are so many instances, more often than not. Again, Luke Jackson has had to play forward and ruck his whole entire career. So many instances where they just don't come in like that. And if you do look at a guy like Luke Jackson, who some people are saying he could have a very similar start to the career to, where Luke Jackson was actually this slight exception where he came in and kind of made an automatic effect. We got to remember that Luke Jackson is legitimately playing behind Max Gawn, arguably the greatest ruckman of all time. I mean, he was playing under him. Now he plays with Sean Darcy, who, yeah, that guy looks like he's freaking unfit every time he touches the footy field. I don't know what's going on there. But Luke Jackson was able to play like 80% key forward, 20% ruck, 70-30 even, behind Max Gawn, who was the best ruckman to like nearly ever exist, to teach him basically everything he knows. Again, if Cooper Duff Tyler does get drafted to the West Coast Eagles, he will be thrown into the deep end straight away on already the worst team in the game, and he will be tasked to do something so out of reach. I just don't think it is fair for him to do that, and I don't know if that's where West Coast are going to go. I think before West Coast maybe take a ruckman, they're going to want to, build up a bit better of a team to maybe go with that. Again, you also, in my opinion, I think if you're going to draft a ruckman with a higher pick, you need a serviceable ruckman to mentor them. Again, that's what Melbourne did with Max Gawn and Luke Jackson. Not saying that Max Gawn was just serviceable. I mean, he's a lot more than that. But you guys get the picture on what I'm trying to say. I think if West Coast was to actually go and select Cooper Duff Tyler, which is, there is a chance that they go and do, I think you need to, try and trade for a ruckman who can actually play the next couple of years while you wait for maybe Cooper Duff Tyler to develop. And again, play Cooper Duff Tyler as a key forward in those couple of years, because you do need that as well. They desperately need a key forward. So if they want to take him in 1 or 2, do that and have him play key forward for the first 2 to 3 years of his career, where he plays 70% key forward, 30%, of course, in the ruck. Again, a player I think they can trade for who's not getting a game, who in my opinion, is very serviceable. I mean, legitimate premiership ruckman, Ivan Soldo. Again, Ivan Soldo is, I think, about 27, 28 years old, so definitely has a couple years left, and he's just currently playing in the Port Adelaide CNFL team, and he's not getting a game in the AFL, mainly because he is very close to Jordan Sweet, but Jordan Sweet is just that 5% better, and that's why he continuously plays, and unfortunately, he and Sweet cannot coexist in the same team. But if you're looking at Ivan Soldo going to West Coast, boy oh boy, Ivan Soldo is about 30 to 40% better of a player than what Bailey Williams and, of course, I don't even freaking remember his name, Matt Flynn are. Again, Matt Flynn, I really don't want to be negative here, but he is just nowhere near AFL. Like, the fact that Matt Flynn is a starting ruckman and Ivan Soldo is having to play twos is just absolutely insane. Like, think about it like this. Brody Grundy was playing twos a couple years ago, and Matt Flynn is currently starting in the AFL right now. Again, they're a ruckman they can go and get, and you could probably get Ivan Soldo for a late second, legitimate early third at this point. And I think he could come in and just be so much better than the ruckman they have right now. And if you do decide to draft the ruckman in those top two picks in Cooper Tyler, he can play key forward while he develops behind Ivan Soldo. And Ivan Soldo is legitimate a premiership ruckman who could teach him some things. We also got to look at the fact that Andrew McQualter has convinced a couple of Richmond players to go there now. Ivan Soldo could be another player who could be on that list as well. So it's an interesting one. I really don't want to see or hear an argument of people saying, why would they trade for a twos ruckman when both their ruckmen are bad enough and shouldn't be getting a game? They're playing twos ruckman. Why should they trade for another twos ruckman? Well, it's because that twos ruckman from Port Adelaide is, as I said, 30 to 40% better than the twos ruckman that you've currently got playing right now. And you could get him for pretty cheap, in my opinion. So there's all those things that they can look at. The other things are, if they do have 1 and 2 and manage to somehow get like 5, or, you know, if they trade away Harley Reid, get 5 or 6 and a bunch of other 100 million things they'd get back for Harley Reid, you could take the best 2 midfielders obviously available and take a guy like Louis Emmett at pick 6, who is one of the best ranked ruckmen we've ever seen as well, who is behind Cooper Tyler, but is another guy who can get like 20 disposals for fun and can, you know, go forward. So you could legitimately draft the 2 best midfielders available, go out and trade for Ivan Soldo, and then have like Louis Emmett as the backup, right? So many things they can do, and that's what's so exciting about the West Coast Eagles right now, is even though they're losing and getting spanked every week, they're actually going to have a really good draft hand. I mean, especially if Harley Reid goes, holy crap, they might have like the best draft hand of all time. So a lot of really interesting things here that they can do. Again, I'd very much like to hear all of your thoughts and opinions on this in the comment section down below. Should the West Coast Eagles look at drafting a ruckman at the first overall pick? Again, is Cooper Tyler that guy? Do they look at Louis Emmett? Again, let me know your thoughts and opinions down below. Subscribe to this channel for later sports content and use my gaming channel, which will also be getting linked in the description down below. And I guess I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.